Alright, folks, welcome back. Is day 156 with Duolingo Japanese. MAKU desu. Konnichiwa. Yokoso. So, and we started unit 33. It's describing a recent date. And I feel like it's more about describing the date, as in like the person. So we'll keep that in mind. As per usual, is day 1. So we are going to write the translations, as many as we can. I think it's fairly reasonable to aim for 15. Still, not too bad. Still on that break from Shashinko, trying to figure out a reasonable manner in which I can get my day started earlier. Alright, so let's hop right into this. Unit. I think it's time to change colors, right? Not yet. We'll wait until later for the Chinese review. So, unit 33. What do we got? Describe dates. Our grammar, or something related to grammar-ish, is the idea of dekiru. Dekiru expressing the ability to do something, right? Dekiru. And some things we can do is unten ga dekimasu. Unten. Souji. Sentaku. Ryori. And then Takyu. Yeah. Takyu. Takyu. I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Okay. Takyu. Okay. Coding. Lasagna. Lasagna. Nia. Lasagna. Lasagna. Other foods. Raishu expression like Raishu no hi. So Raishu no nichiyoubi. Hatsuka. Hatsuka. I really need to start with kanji stuff first. Namae. Mm. Tanoshi. Tanoshi. I have some sizing to do on Tanoshi. This is big, like flatter? Like girthier, but flatter. Maybe. I'll work on that. Tanoshi. Oh. Tokui. 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 Shiawase. Shiawase. Hmm. Menkyo. Menkyo. Bike no menkyo. Motte imasu. Motte imasu. Hmm. 7, 11, 15. I could do better. Are there any grammar things? Spice. 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 Spain. Spain. Odiodi. Suye. Suye. Emo. Shumi. Shumi. Tsuri. tsuri. That's good enough. Yeah. So let's just get right back into this. I wonder what's listed on the word thing. Spain Yori. Spain
スペイン料理
Spain Yori. 20日
20日
20日 Okay, Gorufu. 卓球卓球
卓球
スポーツ用品スポーツ用品
スポーツ用品
スポーツ用品プリンラザニアスパイス勉強釣り趣味名前スペイン OK スポーツ用品
スポーツ用品
スポーツ用品今日Gorufu, I'm kind of curious how popular. I mean, there are lots of allusions to the popularity of ball golf. Alright, let's get our review in, shall we? Did I miss any? Nah, Anoshi. No. Okay, so the bottom is the same width. It just looks really weird. It's about half the height. It takes up half the height. Let's see. Alright. Okay.
楽しい
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 名前
名前名前
名前
名前
楽しい
楽しい
甲斐さんは本当に楽しい人です。甲斐さん
は本当に
本当
That's a 本当に I see 本当に楽しい人ですあいさんは本当に楽しい人です
甲斐さんは本当に楽しい人です。
Or we haven't found so far so good?
新しい彼女はスペインの留学生です。とても楽しい人です。今週末一緒にカラオケに行きます。
新しい彼女はスペインのman I gotta remember that 留学生で留学生です I was thinking of something else doesn't help I just don't remember it anymore. Keep forgetting. Ryugaku. Yeah. It's related to Ryugaku. So, Ryugaku. So I gotta relate them. It is Ryugakusei. And Ryugaku suru. Study abroad. To study abroad. 新しい彼女はスペインの留学生です。とても楽しい人です。今週末、一緒にカラオケに行きます。Their new partner. Fair game. Fair game. Yep. So, I suppose we could say my new partner. My new partner. My new. Wait a minute. Oh no. Yeah, my new girlfriend is an international Spanish student, right? A Spanish international student, or a Spanish international student. They're very fun. They're a very fun person. They're a very fun person. This weekend, we are going to karaoke together. Right?
毎日とても幸せです。
Okay.
毎日
毎日
とても
wait.
とても毎日とても幸せです。
幸せ。Yeah, 幸せ。
とても幸せです。毎日とても幸せです。
I hope many people could say this one day, at least some part of their life, right? 毎日とても幸せです。I keep skipping the 毎日とても幸せです。名前はナオミです。I like how they left son in there.
名前
は
ナオミです。
That's a trap. Son is a trap. 名前はナオミです。It's kind of a grammar point. Yeah, I would qualify that as a grammar point. 안도리우さんに1日に3回メールします。I guess メールします。For texting. Fair enough.
3回
Alright, we'll write that. Namae wa Erika desu.
名前はエリカです。
エリカさんに1日に2回電話します。Paraphrase on メールする。電話します。エリカさんはスペイン出身です。
2回
名前は what name have we got? Hanaです。Not that that's a dead giveaway for a name. I mean, you could call your you could call you could call yourself whatever you want. Honestly, I'm okay with that. If you call yourself Tamago, I'm all for it. It's specifically the first name, Namae wa. That's your given name. You can give yourself a different name, I suppose. They have some weird looks and whatnot, but if you own it, I suppose.
名前
Namae. 名前
名前
wa Erika desu.
名前
Namae wa Naomi desu.
名前
Erika
は
desu. 2年 Oh no, 2人 What am I saying? 2年2人
2人
入れます
入れます。
700楽しいケンさんと楽しいパーティー No, no. 楽しいパーティーに行きました。脂っこい脂っこい薄い薄い薄い is the unit with the bad hotel experience. Thin walls. 薄い Yeah, 薄い壁薄い壁楽しい Okay. I mean, I don't know, it's fine. Okay. 4時間
4時間
4時間好き
好き
7月
楽しい
い名前Are you happy? 幸せですか
幸せ
幸せですか
でか
I gotta remember this. Honestly, I can find myself saying that. よくメールします。Okay.
よくメールします。
よくメールします。Alright. I think they're kind of like going back. These are kind of the things that I find, yeah, you're pretty much pretty direct when you're talking about stuff like this. Sometimes you avoid the dirty, like the nitty-gritty details because you want to be a little bit, want to keep all the personal details to yourself. Like, yeah, you know, we often text. よくメールします。
持っています
持っています。
持っています
持っています。Whoa, those are tiny. 持っています。
持っています
Oh, you know, I should remember motte. We got the kanji for that too, only it's not logged. That's right. Wait, was there a stroke? No, there isn't a stroke. Motte imasu. Alright. That's actually, we'll write that. Oops. Alright.
ケンさんは運転ができますか
Okay. ケンさんは
運転ができますかケンさんは運転ができますか
できますか So there is something I remembered yesterday that I kind of felt eh eh. So they use dekiru. They use dekiru for nihongo. Nihongo ga dekimasu. But I feel like most of the time it's Nihongo ga wakarimasu. To express, to know, or be able to do something, but I'll leave it up to the imagination. You can kind of understand, like I can Japanese, but I think in that case I understand Japanese, or I know, or like know / understand. I'd probably use wakaru. Yeah, probably wakaru. Yeah, Nihongo ga wakarimasu. Probably. As opposed to, although the way let's see if it comes up today. I think the prompt comes up today.
ケンさんは運転ができますか？
運転ができますか？
彼女の趣味は釣りです。今週の土曜日の午前4時に一緒に釣りに行きます。その後、魚を焼きます。
Wow, that middle sentence was kinda hard to get the essentials. 今週の土曜日の午前4時に一緒に釣りに行きます。Say that again.
彼女の趣味は釣りです。今週の土曜日の午前4時に一緒に釣りに行きます。その後、魚を焼きます。
彼女の趣味は釣りです。今週の土曜日の午前4時に一緒に釣りに行きます。その後魚を焼きます。You can do her hobby at a lake. Oh, I like this. Oh no, they need to go harder on this. Oh, I hope they continue to do something like this, like as you're moving forward. So then you're doing like contextual implications, right? So in no way did Mizumi came up on this in any of the sentence, but it is inferred that they could do it at a lake because you know something about fishing. I like this. I hope they continue to push harder and harder into like implications. I really like this one. Like on a plane in a shopping mall. That's great. Sometimes it becomes pretty obvious because the words are occurring in the prompt. So oftentimes people just need to like if you pick up the word, you can answer the prompt without comprehending the prompt, right? So I like this. This is great. They're talking about fishing, right? So my girlfriend's hobby is fishing. Oh, okay. Next this Saturday evening, this Saturday 4 o'clock p.m. Right? We went fishing together, or we went fishing together. Afterwards, we grilled. Yes, we grilled some fish. You can do the hobby at the lake. That's cute. I like it. Did we get any new things here? No. No new things. Oh, and sorry, not in the evening. Morning. Gozen. 4 a.m. That's really, really early. But 4 a.m. Gozen.
午前、
Yeah, morning. I think I said evening.
サムさんはバイクの免許も持っています。
Okay.
サム、
Samsan. Oh?
サムさんはバイクの免許も持っています。
I'm like, someone else too? Samsan wa bike
バイクの免許でしたでした持っています。
持っています。持っています。Wait.
サムさんはバイクの免許も持っています。
勉強も持っています。Of course you would do it that way.
サムさんはバイクの免許も持っています。
Okay. So yeah, 免許持っています。サムさんはバイクの免許も持って、勉強も持っています。
新しい彼氏は運転ができます。かっこいい車を持っています。また彼氏の車に乗りたいです。
新しい彼氏は運転ができます。かっこいい車を持っています。また彼氏の車に乗りたいです。Fair enough. The person's impressed by their boyfriend's car. Yeah, see. Yeah, kuruma will give it away. Kareshi give it away. So their new boyfriend can drive. They have a cool car, right? They have a cool car. Or he has a cool car. I want to ride my boyfriend's car again. Right. Take a ride. Samさんの趣味もハイキングです。
サム
サムさんの趣味もハイキング
です。
サムさんの趣味もハイキングです。花さんは運転ができます。時々私のアパートにいます。Okay. Wait. 時々私のアパートに来ます。Sometimes, because they come to my apartment. Okay. I can see that. Yeah. 花さんは運転。Yeah.
が、
花さんは運転ができます。時々私のアパートに来ます。
に、
花さんの趣味はサーフィンです。
花、 3の趣味はサーフィンです。
アレックスさんは運転ができます。よく一緒に海に行きます。
がに、
彼女は新しいI'm just checking all the options. 南あと、OK、車を持っています。
持っています。12名前今年楽し
趣味
教科書、
Whoops. I said 教科書
免許
釣り、生物学、
バイクの免許、
免許
生物学、
釣り
教科書、
I keep saying Q. 教科書
屋上、
アレックスは釣りが好きです。アレックスさんは釣りが好きです。アレックスさんは
釣りが好きです。
That's to show that if you want to imply shumi, you can also say someone likes an activity. So they're just turning the phrase. Right? You could say, Areksu-san no shumi wa tsuri desu. Alternatively, it's kind of like implying the same meaning when you say Areksu-san wa tsuri ga suki desu. It's not exactly the same, obviously. He wants us to turn our phrases. You can like fishing without having it be your hobby. Hana-san. Or you can go even harder and say Hana. Hana-san wa tsuri daisuki ga daisuki desu. Now you're possibly strongly implying that it's a hobby. If not, even more than that.
彼女のプリンは最高です。
彼女のプリンは最高です。It's always lovely to hear people talk about their partners' food, right? With great enthusiasm.
彼女のプリンは最高です。
新しいパートナーは毎日掃除をします。洗濯もできます。アパートはとても綺麗です。本当に幸せです。
That's a cute prompt. That's a very cute prompt. 新しいパートナーは毎日掃除をします。洗濯もできます。アパートはとても綺麗です。本当に幸せです。So, my new partner cleans every day. My new partner does cleaning every day. They also do the laundry. I also do the laundry. The apartment is very clean. I'm really happy. Their partner is very clean. That's one way to put it. Not literally the partner themselves, but they're very tidy, very clean.
彼氏は洗濯もできます。
彼氏も洗濯がwait, no.
洗濯は
彼氏は洗濯も
できます。彼氏は洗濯もできます。
洗濯もできます。
新しい彼氏は料理ができます。よくパスタとラザニアを作ります。明日のラザニアが楽しみです。
I like this. I want all my units to be like this. Forget learning how to be upset about things. You just say all this kind of things. It's almost easier for me to understand when they're only talking about good things. 新しい彼氏は料理ができます。よくパスタとthey pigeonhole. I see. よくパスタとレザニアを作ります。明日のレザニアが楽しみです。Right. My new boyfriend can cook. He often makes pasta and lasagna. And tomorrow, I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to the lasagna. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's lasagna. Maybe we're gonna be a little bit literal, I suppose. Your boyfriend will cook dinner tomorrow? Yeah. I like that they threw in dinner. Because it could be implied. You can imply that. Just to add a bit of flavor. Like, it doesn't have, like, someone could argue, oh, well, I eat lasagna for lunch. It's like, okay, that's fine. But the idea is they're adding extra information that you can infer if you kind of create your own context, right? It would be interesting. You could go harder and do things like, oh, the boyfriend is cooking a snack tomorrow, right? You could say that, like they're cooking a snack tomorrow, but really, if you had to choose between dinner and snack, if you know what pasta and lasagna is, you know, some extra layers of implication.
先週アレックスさんはラザニアを作りました。先週は
先週はアレックスさん
は先週アレックスさんはラザニアを作りました。
ラザニア
を作りました。3
先週アレックスさんはラザニアを作りました。
先週アレックスさんはラザニアを作りました。
me too.
ケンさん。
ケンさんはスパイスが大好きです。スパイスが大好きです。Kind of a little rough saying, huh?
スパイス
が大好きです。ダニエルさんは料理ができます。昨日ダニエルさんに手作りのクッキーがもらいました。 Oh, homemade. Right. Tetsukuri no homemade cookies. Right. Tetsukuri no.
がを
And they're also comparing the particle. This is sort of a grammar point between dekiru and moraimashita. Or morau. Daniel さんは料理ができます。昨日、ダニエルさんに手作りのクッキーをもらいました。Cute. Very cute. カイさんは料理ができます。
カイさんは料理ができます。
彼氏はよくレザニアを作ります。I keep saying they sometimes. Lasagna. It's kind of interesting that they keep going with da when it's re, and then they go with re, like the da part. It's kind of makes you scream American accent every once in a while. It's like lasagna. It's kind of like a combination of le and la, but the closest is da. No. Because of la, it's but no us. Malaysia. Yeah, Malaysia. Konnichiwa. Okami-san. Malaysia no spice.
マレーシアのスパイス。
Spice. 彼女はよくリムジン、スーパー、ゲームセンター、スーパーでスパイスを買います。Oh, it's konbanwa. It's not that time for me. But I said konnichiwa because I'm just saying hello. I'm not like reading your message, I'm responding to your message. Oh, you were trying the spelling? What do you mean by I was trying the spelling? Okay. Yeah, you spelled it correctly. What's new? No, business as usual. We're learning what's new. We're learning how to talk, how to describe our dates in a positive way, in a very positive way. So what's new? We know the expression of how to describe somebody's abilities to perform a specific skill. So with dekiru, as opposed to what you know or can comprehend with wataru. So that's kind of what's new right now. Spice.
スパイス
Spice.
趣味
Yumi.
生物学、釣り、
屋上
花さんは、 Hana-san wa nemoi? No. Oh, am I no? Pudding. Amai pudding ga daisuki da. Sure. Basically describing dates. Hana-san wa amai pudding ga daisuki da. The time I used to spend on learning a language went down drastically. I see. So what are you doing? What are you doing now, Okami? Are you liberating the time for something else? Medical school is a nightmare. Sorry to hear that. Is it a nightmare in the sense that it's taking up a lot of time, or do you like medical school just right now? It just happens to be a nightmare. No time most of the time in the clinic. I see. Do you like it? Times lasting energy. I see. Do you like it? I imagine you're going to medical school because you like it, right? You have to go to the clinic. I see. Did you not go to medical school to want to do something like that? But what are your goals? What do you think becoming a medical profession would be like? It's clearly not what you imagine, since you're saying it's a nightmare. It was family choice. Okay, I have to do it either way. Okay. Yeah, I didn't want it. I didn't want to assume that was the case, like a strong family obligation. However, it is a story I'm very familiar with when I was still at university. I happen to have decided on a university in where I am in the United States, right? At a university where it is one of the top universities for pre-med students. And even before heading off to medical school, lots of the students, oftentimes I ask this question, and you get quite a lot of it, where like, oh, it's because I was told to do this, and this is what I have to do. Some of them, there are very few, a lot fewer, in fact, that really, really love that thing. Like, they're quite obsessed with it. But yeah, that's understandable. Did you go to medical school by choice? I didn't go to medical school. No. My parents wanted me to go to medical school for sure. I ended up going to graduate school. For science, for biology. My parents settled on the idea like, all right, well, I guess you're doing something. They're okay with it. They obviously, my parents wanted what they could understand, which is that if you become a medical profession, you have job security, right? And at the time, you have job security. People believe it's a very respectable occupation, right? My parents are Chinese, by the way. So, their vision was that either my sister and I will both become doctors one day or go into the medical profession. And neither of us ended up in medical school. Although neither of us is unsuccessful, right? We actually departed dramatically from the rest of our extended family. You either go into business, right? You either go into business, pharmacology, or any form of lucrative career because of Chinese traditional, right? You gotta make money, secure, start a family, that kind of thing. And yeah, medical school was pretty much what we were told our future would be like for the first 18 years of our life. It was either medical school or bust. And then we left the nest. Me and my sister went off to college, and both of us decided on a course that did not involve medical school. I did try though. I did try. I did take medical school entry exams, at least the country's medical school and entry exams. It didn't go well. And it's not because it didn't go well because I was unable. It was pretty clear that I didn't want it. It's one of those things. Like, I thought I wanted it. I see most of the Indian families and Chinese families always push for these professions, though, isn't it? Yeah, it is very, especially diaspora, as in like, especially the second gen, because contextually, we have to take into consideration when my parents immigrated, the one thing they want for their children is to move up in status. It's, face culture, right? It's to move up in status and prestige. So naturally it gravitates towards the most prestigious perception of occupations. And for Chinese, at least, being a medical profession or a very lucrative, like, money maker, that's usually prestigious. Like, but doctors have both, right? They both have prestigiousness and also money. I'm gonna put that in quotes. Medical school is make or break it, at least in the United States. You're either going to make it and pay off your debts and all that stuff, or you fail to and you will drown in debt. That's kind of the idea. So whether that was important to my decision in pursuing graduate school, I ended up being admitted to a graduate school program for the sciences that is funded by the government, per se, that has a training program. So I did not pay for my tuition. These are very, I don't know how common these are anymore. However, when you get into a university that you qualify for a graduate school, you don't have to pay for it. Either way, you're losing. Also, time. Most of the graduates of med school are spending years, and they are a lot. Yeah. Either way, you're losing. Kind of. And if you're thinking about it from a pragmatic standpoint, you're losing. Yeah. No. So, yeah, you're talking about, like, in the argument, like, if you're trying to rationalize the things, yeah, with time and energy and whatnot. So yeah, I asked this question fundamentally a lot because you can't lose if you don't feel like you're losing. In the end of the day, I ask if someone is happy and that it meets their expectations, or like it tempers and evolves their expectations. Because honestly, knowing what other people want of you can breed that whole feeling that it feels like a loss, right? Now, I do have to keep this in mind. I believe my parents have always wanted the best for me. So, regardless if we have our disagreements, they did their best in knowing to push me towards something that will increase my odds of success. So in that way, it's always a win-win for myself. I had parents that cared enough to push me towards something. So that's the reverse. It's the silver lining in all of this. One could even argue I wouldn't have gone to graduate school if they didn't push me towards something that required something like if I didn't have my eyes set on medical school, the chances of me going to graduate school would have been non-existent. It's kind of like if you're thinking, oh, like, it would have been great if my parents didn't make all the decisions for me or push me to medical school. Well, if you remove parents that don't interact with you and don't push you towards anything, where do you think you would be then? sometimes the truth can be very revealing. Like, would I be as motivated to be achiever, right? Doing this, self-studying Japanese, like do whatever I want, start whatever I want. Would I be that same person without parents? Without parents that are incredibly ambitious? Yeah, for sure, but the point of view they have is not the same as yours. Just like a medical student and a business student, for them it is always option one. Well, no, the point of view, I disagree with you. The point of view is the same as mine. My point of view just happens to be bigger than theirs because I live in a place that they no longer have, right? So if you think, so for me, if you think your point of view is exclusively different from your parents, then you and your parents cannot talk to each other. My point of view is that I get my parents to understand my point of view because I understand their point of view. So their point of view is the same as mine. Mine just happens to be bigger. So because I know their point of view, I can talk to them and their point of view becomes my point of view. As in, I understand where they're coming from. So therefore, I use that in order to explain to them what my point of view is. And now, at the age of 37, we both have an understanding of each other's point of views. So they are one and the same. I can understand that med school and business students, that's option number one. However, these things come with time, right? If you refuse to think that you can't understand their point of view, then yes, you would probably conclude that you and them cannot see eye to eye. You will have different perspectives. I do not have different perspectives from my parents. I have more than one perspective. And now my parents also have more than one perspective. It doesn't stop them from favoring one of them though. They still favor that their children be doctors. But they are also happy with the idea that both my sister and I are not doing something that makes us unhappy. And also, we don't have to be doctors to be able to make as much money as we want, per se. We have the ability to do that. So that's kind of the idea, right? One can be grateful in ignorance. That's perfectly fine. Or one can be grateful because we share perspective, right? And to me, my parents and I, we see eye to eye. And they've gotten used to the American in me. So that's kind of why I still hang out with my parents. I'm quite literally occupying the same space with my parents at the moment. They like the idea of having one of us, me or my sister, around to take care of certain things. Like, for example, one point of view about language learning, just to relate to language learning. My parents are not motivated to dedicate themselves to learning English. All throughout my sister and myself's life, we had to understand the perspective that we, as a second generation, are very helpful because one of us will be around healthily being able to provide English. Now, you could make an argument as a second gen that say, well, if I can learn English, you can learn English too. Why don't you do that? Right? That would be a conflict of interest. That would be a different perspective. Like, well, I do understand when someone tells me, why didn't your parents learn English? They live in the United States. It would be very pragmatic to learn English. Like, well, yes, I understand that. Now, my parents understand that too. However, I also understand that I'm their son, and I can do these things as well as a form of love, compassion, and respect. So, they could argue, and it wouldn't be offensive, to say that, well, we don't have to necessarily learn English. You are our son. We invested so much into you to learn English, right? So you kind of understand both perspectives. It doesn't have to be one or the other, right? And that's kind of what makes things happier and more grateful. Like I'm far more grateful to my parents, knowing their perspective and understanding how to appreciate their perspective. One can be grateful if you just are acceptant. How old were you when you went to US, if I can ask? I'm born and raised in the United States. So I'm second generation. Yeah, I'm second generation. So I'm not first generation. I'm born and raised in the United States. Yeah. So my perspective is, when I was growing up, my mother language is Fujianese. You can have two mother languages. My common language I use English as a common language because you will only find me speaking English, since most people don't speak Fujianese, right? So, and my parents speak Fujianese. We don't usually speak English. We try. There are adopted words in Fujianese. Isn't mother language the language you speak first? Yes, but you can speak two languages first. My very first language is Fujianese, if that is the case. But I choose to say English and Fujianese because it's very difficult to know which one spoke first. I actually spoke Mandarin as well. My first couple words were either Mandarin or Fujianese. And then we learned English. However, I typically say both, since it's that whole what came first thing. I did not hear English. My parents did not speak English around me when I was born. And then when we went to kindergarten, the first languages we spoke was Mandarin. So technically, if you only want to qualify the language that I spoke, it's Mandarin. So you were born in Emirates, and I spoke Arabic first, so my mother language is Arabic, right? Even though I'm not from there? Yeah, you can say that. For me, Okami, just to clarify, for me, my mother language is the language I speak at my household. So it's, I say my mother language is Fujianese is because that is the only way I speak to my heritage, my parents. I cannot speak English to my parents. They will not comprehend most of the things I say. So I specifically talk to my parents and my immediate family like that. My extended family, though, they are able to speak English. So sometimes we speak English. A lot of times we speak English, yes. Yeah. So I don't know how other people qualify mother languages. My mother's language, my literal mother's language is Fujianese. I don't speak to my mother in English. So that's kind of why I would go and say that. Yeah, English is my common language though. It's part of being born and raised under two different cultures. Right, at home, it's Fujianese. Outside, it's English. I kind of have two families. I don't know. I don't know if you ever feel that way. Since you were born in the Emirates. Yeah, no idea. I've been asked that quite a lot nowadays because of language learning, right? So it's a great question to consider. For me, it is all Arabic unless if the person can. For me, it is all Arabic unless if the person can speak it or can't speak it, right? So you prefer to use Arabic your common language and your mother language is Arabic, and then you accommodate other people. Yeah. Yeah, my only common language is English, because most people can't speak Fujianese outside of China. Like, I don't think Fujianese people in China are going to be on the internet speaking Fujianese. When I went to med school, I studied it in English, so with time my English got better and my Arabic got weaker. Why did your Arabic get weaker? Now my input is less with Arabic than English? I see. Did you just choose not to contextualize English with Arabic? Hi there, just wanted to swing by and say, oh, hey there, Jacob. I've been crushed by work lately, so I haven't had much time. Or, oh yeah, keep busy. Whenever I see Jacob, I'm sure I don't have to say this to you. If anyone has ever disappeared and like haven't been able to stop by, my assumption a lot of times, presuming that we meet eye to eye, that you're very busy and productive and hopefully happily productive. So yeah, no worries. Thanks for trying to stop by, Jacob. Because I went to a place that can, oh, so they only speak English. I see, for 7 years. Ah, okay. I mean, are you now back in a place where you can use Arabic, Okami? Like, are you in a place now that you're in a... Oh, okay. So now you can do both. That's lovely. The only time I can speak Fujianese is with my parents, but I'm with my parents now, so it can get weaker. It did get weaker. I was away too. I was away for like graduate school and college, largely. However, I must speak to my parents from time to time, so my input continues to be my parents. And the downside of that is this: the one thing that may be different from me and you is, Okami, you can be educated in Arabic, right? I imagine you were educated in Arabic, so you have like high comprehension, like complexity and stuff. My mother language is not taught anywhere outside of China, like per se. So it is for all intents and purposes, Fujianese is an all oral dialect outside of China. So I can't really say that my input got weaker because there isn't formal input for the language, right? So someone asked me, am I fluent in Fujianese? The answer is probably no, because my parents is the only source. Otherwise, I would have to move back to China or live in a really small pocket in the United States and be educated orally, as in, we don't do writing or literacy or something. There isn't a school that you go to that suddenly gives you Fujianese. So there's no way to measure how proficient I am in my mother language. So I do my best to preserve as much of my language as I could, so I interact with my parents. It's kind of a great way to interact with your parents. Lots of Americans, I would say largely people who are born in the United States, have this really fond fascination to learn their mother language, as in the language of their heritage, and they often use that as a way to connect with their family if they're second generation, as in born in the United States, but their parents are from a different country. It's a really almost stereotype for Americans. We are, I would say, the generalized American second gen are very concerned about their mother language or their heritage, so as well as I am. I try to keep my Fujianese on me as much as I can. Unfortunately, there's no way I can find any other input outside of China. and my family does not have any plans to move back there. Oh, there, Manifest. Ganbatte ne. Indeed. Hi. Arigato. So now you're afraid to lose your English, so I keep doing some exercises just to keep it. Wait. Oh, I see. Because now you're back in Arabic. You're back into an environment with Arabic. Do people not use both languages in where you are? We're educated in Arabic, right, and also in English. At school, it was Arabic for 12 years and 7 years at the place you live, do you not use both the languages back and forth? I'm kind of curious. I live in an environment where I spend a lot of time at home with my folks, with my parents. So it's Fujianese whenever I'm not streaming most of the time. So it's always there. It's constant. Although when I speak a language, I think in multiple languages. I don't think exclusively in a language. Like right now, I don't necessarily have thoughts only in English. And that's kind of something that when language learning, I can't connect with people who only think in one language most of the time. Like what I mean is, it's not interesting to think of language. Like even if you're learning a language, it's not interesting to me to only think in one language. The richness of having multiple languages is constantly reinforcing each other. You went to Egypt for 1 year recently. It is my first month, and I'm doing clinical work, and here they speak Arabic. Oh, okay. Some areas have English speakers, but it's far. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's understandable. I appreciate that you're keeping up with your English though. Like you're trying to find other ways. I mean, your typing clearly shows that you still got your English. You actually type in a manner that is far more elaborate than the classical amount of English that people use online. In fact, I actually think the online English in general, if it comes from a native English speaker, like whatever that means nowadays, someone who relies on English, it's far more deconstructed, for better or for worse. I don't know if it's good or bad. Like I don't, what happens is the complexity is actually quite noticeable. Like the way you type and construct your sentences, like that, it's a lot more developed. It's ironic, I know, but I'm sure you probably noticed this in Arabic. I don't know if you've ever bumped into other people who learn Arabic, but generally speaking, the people who are learning the other language, the people who are learning the language are often far more focused on complexity and properness than the ones who have been speaking the language or writing the language for a while. Because that's how we speak Arabic actually. That's fine. That makes sense. We talk like we are writing a paragraph. Okay, I can see that. I want to add though. I want to add something. That's not how all Americans speak too. I write in paragraphs as well. So there's a time and place to be writing in paragraphs. Kind of. Yeah, it's like storytelling. Sure. I get that. I get that. I wanna be clear that I'm comparing you to the internet social structure. And the internet social structure, that doesn't mean like people who use English, like Americans like me, I don't write in paragraph. Just to be clear. But that is a very neat observation if that's how you write in Arabic. I didn't realize that Arabic is written in paragraphs. but most of the time I talk in sequence like that as well. For example, usually I have interjections, like for example, right? And then there's a passage of time, then you use because, transitional words. So when you type them out, you use transitional words. For example, because how we speak Arabic, actually, we talk like we are, like you're writing continuous ideas. And then you have other people who write singular ideas with one sentence. And that's kind of like Duolingo, honestly. But I get it. Yeah, I get it. I like it. And it's not abnormal or anything. And I'll keep that in mind, actually. I don't know other Arabic people, like Arabic speaking people. So I'll keep that in mind if they noticeably write paragraphs. However, I do notice that anyone who's learning English also tend to write that way anyways. Like, not necessarily a cultural thing, but more of a human condition thing. Like, what makes me sound like a foreigner learning Japanese? It's probably because all my sentences are incredibly rigid. I didn't say always, manifest. Unless you're talking to Okami. But I'm sure neither of us are saying they always do something. We're talking about tendencies here. So that is the type of statement that I'm used to seeing on the internet. Manifest. I think that is the more common internet comment. When someone says no, they don't always speak something. No one's implying always. Yeah, that is the more, to me, that is the more common internet commentary right there. Not that it's bad or anything. It's a very familiar thing. When someone says a statement and somehow it becomes an all or none statement.
生物学、
生物学。Okay.
ラザニア、
ラザニア。
プリン、免許、釣り。
花さんのチョコレートプリンは美味しいです。
Okami, you're asking manifest, right? I'm presuming your question is towards manifest. Manifest is from a multilingual place as well, actually. You guys have there might be some interesting dialogue there. Hana-san no ハンさんのチョコレートプリンは美味しい。Oh, you're asking me how's my language? What do you mean by how's my language? Oh, like what do you mean by how's my language? My Fujianese? Fujianese is, in a weird way, it's actually, Arabic has a lot of dialects, like even the word for how are you are different. Okay, sure. I mean the sequence I say, my language, Fujianese, you can probably use Mandarin as the model for Fujianese structure. So in terms of sequencing and how direct they are and how explicit they are, and then the culturalisms around it is very close to Mandarin. So when you're telling a story, or it's pretty much being incredibly direct and short and concise, and it uses a lot of implications. Maybe not so much as Japanese. Like, I don't know how to relate it to something. If we relate it to English, right? Mandarin is, I mean, Fujianese is less descript. So yeah, Fujianese is definitely not a descript language, like a descriptor language. That's probably the only way I can show a relative. If we're talking about like the sequencing and the purpose, or if we're talking about like how stories and paragraphs and how speaking patterns work, I think sometimes predict what's the person is going to tell you before you hear it, but it's not always. The way we construct makes it sometimes predictable. Fujianese, that's a let me think about it in the context of Fujianese. I think that's about the same too. You can kind of predict what they're about to say. There's a very strict there's quite a bit of strict, a lot more like common strictness than it is for English. I would say Japanese is very similar too. There's kind of a strictness for that. We're not saying always again. I think Manifest is trying to find all the exceptions to the tendencies, and that makes sense because there's obviously exceptions. But the idea is that when you speak Fujianese and then you think about the influence that English speakers have, it's far more acceptable and lenient for English to have far more permutations and turn of phrases than say Fujianese, and largely because Fujianese is so restricted to a specific group, just like Japanese. Japanese is very restricted to a group. I think Arabic is a bit more flexible, honestly, but maybe not. Funny thing, it built a habit in me. I always predict and interrupt, which is not a good thing for the speak to get interrupted. That's understandable, especially in English, because English is it is very English does not since English, or users of English, like any users of English, mostly English is a descriptor language. So it is very honestly, it's not the most pragmatic to attempt to be presumptuous in English, since it requires descriptors. It can go anywhere in descriptors. It's very likely to. When a language is secluded to a predominant group, even within the group, like dialects and all, like say Manifest is making an argument that there are a lot of dialects in Arabic, fair enough, and there are dialects in Japanese. However, we're talking about the relatives, right? If you relatively look at English, you have no idea where it's going to go most of the time. The idea is to not make implications and remove implications and then rely on descriptors. So being concise and incredibly descriptive in English is not redundant or weird. Being redundant and incredibly descriptive in like Japanese might be a little weird. Like kind of saying watashi every single time. In English, you want to say I, or identify I, them, whose opinion is it, over and over again, because you do not know where it's going. It's a descriptor language. So the habit is, if you make a presumption about someone's, like imply like, oh, this is what they mean, the other person is likely to say, well, that's not what I mean. Kind of like what I did with Manifest, where when he typed, no, they don't always speak in paragraphs. And in English, it's like, well, no, we didn't always say always. We suggested that some, or a lot, or noticeable amount of people do that, right? We're talking about the generalization. So in English, you have to specify these things. If you don't, then you can't presume what the other person is saying. in Japanese, there are rules to the way you'd say things. Like I can't necessarily say Nihongo, like Nihongo ga dekimasu, without getting some weird looks. It's like, wait a minute, you can Japanese? Like you can able Japanese? What does that mean? But it's Nihongo ga watarimasu, as in I know Japanese, or I understand Japanese. But being able to do something also means to know. So in English, I'm spending like 4 or 5 sentences trying to describe what I'm trying to express by saying I'm capable of speaking Japanese, as opposed to maybe I don't understand it as much as I want, but I am capable of speaking Japanese. But in Japanese, there's only specific ways you want to express that. Arabic is more flexible since objects have different tense than subjects, for example, so you can put object, subject in front. Well, you can do that in English too. What are you comparing it to? Because right now, Okami is comparing English, their use of English and Arabic. So it's more flexible compared to what? Are you comparing it to Japanese? I'd probably agree with you. It's probably more flexible than Japanese. It's definitely not more flexible than English. Like you don't say eat I sushi, but someone can understand that. So when you're talking about flexible, you could say sushi I ate, or sushi I eat. Sushi, comma, I eat. Like we're not talking about grammatical understandings here, right? We're talking about how people construct ideas, right? So if you're talking about grammatically acceptable things, yeah, okay. I'll let you have that, because I don't know anything about Arabic. In Arabic, it can be a proper grammatical sentence. That's fine, but we're not talking about grammatical structure here. We're talking about how people construct ideas, right? So if you started with something in Arabic, can you predict what's happening at the end? If you start with English and I say I eat, what comes after I eat? Does it have to be a food item? Where is the person going when they say I eat? The object I'm eating? Is it though? I eat before dinner. I eat before dinner. That has nothing to do with the object that you're going to eat. No, I said time, not the place. There's more. I eat perhaps. So I eat before dinner. What does that tell you? It's not the place you eat at. It's the time you ate at. I eat perhaps. That's a probability as well. You could say I eat at a restaurant and not say anything about an object of what you eat. Right? Like you said, that's a possibility. But you could say I eat before dinner. So the question is it very predictable when you interrupt someone? Right? I don't know about Arabic. Maybe if you interrupt someone, it's hard to predict whatever they're going to say. However, in English, it's incredibly difficult too. And all the words, right, can be misunderstood when you do not have the full context of the sentence. It's exactly why, in my opinion, English has arguments in English. And the thing you eat on a daily basis too, right? Unlike Japanese, you would say something that would follow. Mainichi, mainichi ni, it would be in a specific part of the sentence, or at least Japanese people would prefer it to be in a specific part of the sentence. I have to hear, so here's the thing. You probably heard this before when someone's learning English, as opposed to like Japanese, or I don't know about Arabic. We're just going to compare it to Japanese. When someone says, oh yeah, the one thing that English speakers may have a problem with is that they need to hear the entire sentence, the complete idea, before they can start understanding and responding, as opposed to hearing parts of the thing and knowing and feeling what the rest of it's going to be. Or like, in fact, creating a fragment, right? Creating a fragment as a response, like Okami san wa, right? That is being completed in your head. You're inferring a lot of things in Japanese, and it's natural to do that. In English, if you said Okami, Okami question mark, what are you asking? Like, how are they doing? Like, what? I need more details, right? You need to complete the idea, right? So in a way, the grammar stuff is creating rigidity, but it doesn't explain most things. You can't. You would have to actively listen for a longer time without presuming, right? Even though sometimes the listener might ask questions to clarify. Yeah. So that, I don't know about Arabic. Do Arabic, when you start talking like, how are you? Like if you greet someone and say, how are you? Do you know exactly what the person is asking? Because when someone asks, how am I, in English, because I interact with a lot of people who speak English, but they come from different backgrounds, the how are you does not mean the same thing. Even the words themselves need explainers. Like, oh, I'm all right. What does that even mean? Now it's time to ask questions. To me, it doesn't matter how grammatically flexible something is. The question is, do you understand the meaning, or are you assuming and then you have to clarify at the end? In Japanese, when you say certain things like arigato gozaimasu, there is a lot of consistency in which people say, oh, this is what this phrase means. Like, that's when we use it. When you hear arigato, there's a high chance you're going to hear gozaimasu, depending on the context. It's very specific. When you say thank you in English, what does that mean? And it's going to mean different things. So you have to assume something or presume something. And if you really need to ask, you're going to ask, at least in my opinion. You'll probably get into trouble if you don't ask. Right? Like, oh yeah, you're the best. So what does that even mean? At least that's my opinion. English, there's a lot of debate and like miscommunication, and constantly, like, basically the conversation we're having now is the evidence of why English is something that is incredibly flexible, and because it's flexible, it gets misunderstood most of the time. I think a language that is incredibly consistent is less flexible. Look, for example, when your roommate is searching for a new apartment for you and him, and when he gets back to give you the results of searching, you could tell whether he found something or not, or if the price is higher than he expected or not. Like in Arabic. Oh, like when the way they describe it, you can tell while he's speaking. Ah, okay. I see. But, alright, but... We're having a really great discussion, Lotus. We're having a really great discussion right now. I don't know how to say that in Japanese, but we're talking about the degree of flexibility with implications in language. And Okami is Arabic, or like Okami speaks Arabic, and we're like trying to compare without knowing what Arabic is. Like, I don't know what Arabic is. Okami is trying to describe to me how there's some element of predictability in speaking Arabic or writing in Arabic, and they mentioned this interesting storytelling thing, and then we're comparing it to Japanese, Lotus, where like when you see a sentence, after a while, like the way the structure works, you can kind of infer a lot of things, right? It's like, oh, they're starting with this, then it's going to probably end with a context that you're very familiar with, because, you know, Japanese relies on implicitness too. And then we're comparing it with English, which Okami also learned in English. So we're like, that's the discussion we're having it right now. And it's really, really interesting. But it has to be specific. He has to speak regarding price or design wise or location wise. Then you can tell where there is a bad location or high price or etc. Depends on what he was specifically looking for. I see. Yeah, so here's the thing about, like, now I'm gonna imagine it in English, right? Imagine in English. So someone's gonna say, oh yeah, I did some apartment searching, right? Like, I come to like Lotus or you, I'm like, yeah, I was apartment searching. So now the question is, do you choose to interrupt the person? What is this telling you when you interrupt, right? If you're gonna interrupt this person, what is this telling you? Where can this sentence go, right? It's like, all right, maybe we'll just listen for more. So I'll continue. Apartments are spacious these days. So now the question is, do you know what I'm talking about right now? Or do you think, where do you think the point of this story is going, right? How flexible is English, right? Apartments are spacious nowadays. It's like, boy though, those prices, I tell you, those prices, where you think I'm going now? Right? Is this saying the prices are bad or the prices are good? Right? And what does that have to do with the apartments being spacious? Like, how do you know the things are expensive? Isn't that more on psychological side compared to linguistics? No, because the words themselves don't really tell you it. Like the way people speak, usually they use statements like these, but there's no inference. You have to infer these things. Like, so are apartment spacious good? Are spacious apartment good? I would say yes. Typically this would give you a good feeling, right? This would be used as a good thing a lot of times, right? Regarding size. boy could be awestruck, as in like, oh, it's surprising, right? It could suggest that it's surprising, but in what way? Is it a bad surprise or a good surprise? Well, you're making the inclination that it's spacious. So something that's big is probably expensive, right? It's probably expensive. So this boy is probably being, oh, it's a surprise, so it's probably more expensive. But the thing is, do you know if the person can afford it? Right? So that's great. But now let's think about Japanese. Or I'll just use Japanese for example. If you start off with a negative sentiment, there are times, I'm not saying it's not all the time, again, not all the time, but generally when you start off with a negative statement, you either stay in negative or you use a contrasting word that returns it to, that contrasts it into a positive statement or something like that. And oftentimes when I hear Japanese, it follows these things. Like they don't abruptly do things. But then when I think about English and how people talk, that's not, it's less this. Like someone could start a negative statement and then suddenly say, oh, but oh, it's positive. Like I'm like, oh, okay. So are you saying this is a bad thing or a good thing? And we're not talking about grammar here. We're talking about how frequently people talk. Like, I don't disagree with you. I can't possibly understand if this person is trying to tell me this is quote unquote still grammatically acceptable, right? This is grammatically acceptable. I don't disagree with you. So you could say they kind of agree with you, maybe, or they don't find your statement disagreeable. I don't know how to express this because I don't actually know without listening for more. Like I need more. The question is flexibility, is this a consequence of flexibility? Like where can you go with this? In Japanese, a lot of times you have like wakairi, right? Like wakairi, and then you have when you come home, like I'm home. Like there's a lot of like proper mannerisms, and because most of the customs and the language is excluded to a very specific population, right? And they determine those rules, right? So yes, it is part psychology and it is part linguistics. It's like the marrying of psychology and linguistics. There are expectations of how the conversation, how like lots of phrasing goes. Like if I said I returned home, what does that even mean? In my opinion, right? I would say, oh, I just came home. What do you think it means? And it's acceptable because there's a lot of people who use English, and there's enough of people who use English in a specific way that you can't say your way is the way. It's more flexible because there are more users. In Japan, when you're learning Japanese, and I'm guessing Arabic is tighter than English, right? In the sense that Japan, where are all the rules and how you construct sentences in Japanese? It is determined 99.9% as a model from Japan. It's not like there's some pocket of English, pocket of Japanese speakers somewhere else that just completely have a different social, cultural structure that says, oh yeah, you can say arigato whatever the way you want without needing to do polite speech or something like that. You know, like when you say something, how do you know something is rude in English? And how do you know if something is rude in Japanese? And then when you're trying to be rude, is it predictable in Japanese compared to when you're trying to be rude in English? Is it predictable in English? There is kinda. I know, Lotus. I know, but we're comparing English and Japanese at this point. But what I'm saying is the number. Anime showing Western culture. You're that's right. You're true. Banana fish is a good example. Actually, banana fish is a good example. I've heard phrases that I haven't ever heard before in like banana fish, where the characters are taking place in New York, and the phrases there are so weird. Like because they were trying to be rude and they were trying to be like a facsimile of the English in New York, and there are phrases that you just don't typically hear. Maku, sometime like 80% when the person, even if it's a stranger that you just speaking, telling you what happened to him, you absolutely can tell whether it went bad or not. It is the way he builds it. Ah, okay. And it's a plus or minus. I think it's a good and a bad thing, right? Like what I mean is it can be both, however you want. I like Japanese, right? I don't know about Arabic. I haven't interacted with it. But I like Japanese where when I go to somewhere, I can hear for the things, if you know what I mean. Like, you walk into a restaurant, irashaimase, right? So I learned the phrase irashaimase, irashaimase, because it's expected, you know, it's very ingrained. Or itadakimasu, right? When you go into an English household, or like an English speaking household, what do you think is going to happen? And at the dinner table, there are some classical things that do happen in the American household, right? In a like a fourth generation American household. It doesn't happen in my household, just so you know. If you say, oh, let's have a prayer, right? It's like no, you have to wait. You have to know it's not a mannerism. Like you don't say itadakimasu. That can either be, if you go to like a English speaking thing, you're not quite sure if you're being respectful or not based on what you're going to say. And if you build the thing, like say, oh, okay, so let's have, you know, let's take this time to be grateful about the dinner that's on our table. Where do you think it's going? What do you think the person is going to do? Are they gonna say a prayer in Christianity? Are they going to sit in silence and then think to themselves? Is someone going to lead the prayer? Or where are they going? Because in my opinion, there are more people who use English. The idea is that English will become more flexible in its meaning. So you can't know until you wait and see. It's too unpredictable. I just started watching Mashuru, and they speak so rudely. Mashuru. Oh, Mashuru. This right? The shonen that came out recently, Lotus. Was there an actual "oo" there? Oh no. Is it just called Mash in English? Actually, no, it's not predictable because there's a polite form for it. I see. But in English, or in any language, it is achievable by body language and also tone. Mashle. Oh, it's Mashli. Oh. There's one. Okay. Much later. Yeah, the Harry Potter One Punch Man thing. Yeah. Fair enough. But in English, you can. But in Japanese, they don't have L. Oh yeah. No, that's fine. I know what. That had nothing. That had nothing to do with understanding Japanese language. It was more about the English. Again, it's the English thing. But that's fine. In English or any language, it is achievable by body language and also tone. Yeah, pretty much in any language, it's achievable by tone and body language, which most people don't do, by the way, on the internet, because you can't do that, or like they don't do that. So whenever I talk to people, I imagine body language. Like I'm used to imagining body language and the tone. That doesn't tell you enough in English, however. In Japanese, there are very specific things that would indicate someone is upset and someone is not upset, although they're still in the variations, right? Right. The idea is rules are based on frequency, not plus or minus. So it is more likely that when you say something in Japanese, it can be misconstrued as rude and polite, as opposed to English, where you say like, oh yeah, that's all right. So there's the body language, right? So however, since we're typing and I'm the only one that has a cam here, you can use my body language to understand my English, right? But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this interaction where when you hear things and write things, even Japanese has a predictability to it as people are writing. I don't think necessarily English has that much going for it. First thought, it is going down, but it is never going to happen. You know why? Because now also in the internet they are speaking same way like English internet. Too much memes making it this way. Arabic people are writing like English internet. Oh, okay. So Arabic people are also doing the same thing. I see. Wait. I can... Yome... I'm readings? Something about... I don't know the combination of those. What is the meaning behind this thing? And then this is like tomorrow? I don't know. Next? Does this deal with next? And then I see read. I can read the future. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, okay. Yeah, take care, Okami. It's great. We should talk a lot more. Arabic people are right. Yeah, we should. I like this. I really like this deep conversation between the contrast between Arabic and how English is structured. That's a really fun conversation. Oh, it's not come. Okay, not come. Oh, so it hasn't come yet. It hasn't come, so it's the future. Okay, I see. We had this conversation before, right? I kind of sort of remember this. Right, the future hasn't come yet. As in like the time, like the moment has not come, so it's the future. Yeah. Yeah. Good night, Okami. So anyways, Lotus. Like, do you feel the same way about Japanese? Like, what I mean is, I actually like that part of Japanese, where it's like, oh yeah, that's weird. I mean, it can be frustrating when you get it wrong and right and all that stuff, but it's like you have your pros and cons, right? Like let me show you one thing. So for example, I think this is a good example. It's very relevant right now. I saw Duolingo use this. And I totally erased the character and I didn't I didn't replace it. So like Lotus. So I saw one of the prompts had this in Duolingo. So Nihongo ga dekimasu, right? But here's the thing. I've heard enough of this phrase, not this phrase. I've heard enough around where when I hear Nihongo ga dekimasu, I have an intuition like this doesn't sound right. And that's what I mean by Japanese having it being less flexible than English. And it's not because of the grammar or something. It's more about the cultural norms determined by a selective group. Like dialectically, maybe there's some change. Maybe like dialectically, I don't know, a part of Japan, there are a group of people that say, oh yeah, we flow with Nihongo ga dekimasu. But most of the time, what I hear is this. And I don't know the kanji, so. Ga watarimasu. Well, sorry, not watari. Wakarimasu. Sorry, wakarimasu. Wrong thing. So, Nihongo ga wakarimasu. Wait, did I? Yeah, wakarimasu. And technically, what they're trying to say here might be the same. It might be the same. But I don't think it's the same. Right? Maybe they literally do mean the ability. Perhaps the ability. Yeah, they're subtly different, right? You can describe it in English too. The ability to do Japanese, right? The ability to, like a skill, versus I understand, right? I understand Japanese. However, you know what's funny about this? When you like talk to someone, like go on YouTube and stuff, this is the predominant phrase to express the ability to speak a language. But the thing is, the ability to speak is also expressed in dekimasu. But here it is, like the Japanese side of things. Some people say this is more natural. This is not natural. Either or in English is subtly different, but also both acceptable. Right? There's no like. You actually think the most common is no, which is also subtly different. Yes, I didn't even talk about this one. No. See, like I didn't talk about this one because it'll make things even more confusing. And what I mean by that is not even more confusing, but even more interesting, right? Even more interesting. The this one there's I think this is the one that I'm thinking of, right? No, it's not. No, it's not even that one. So the one that I'm also thinking about is shite, right? Shiteru. Shiteiru? Shiteiru? Yeah, but what I mean by this is, if this is the most common, right? For example, this is the most common. The very nature, yeah, shiteimasu. Oh, shiteimasu. Yeah, shiteimasu, right? And then katarimasu. Okay, so all those ways, right? Yes, I agree. Yes, I agree. Japanese have many ways to express kind of subtly different things, right? Kind of subtly, you know. And then hanasemasu, yeah. So we have all those ways, right? But Lotus, we, from an English perspective, right? We're doing like some translational work here, right? We would say that, oh yeah, they're subtly different, but you can kind of say it, right? However, if we're Japanese, right? What do you think the vast majority of people are going to do? They're going to prioritize what is the most common way to say it, if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean, right? In English, the question is, can you do that? Can you do that now? Like, if someone says, I speak, I know, or English is my main language, right? Can you predict what is going to follow after? Or like, I speak, do you know what follows after, right? I've actually heard all of these at least a dozen times. Oh. Are you sure? Because I feel like the impression that I've gotten is that there is a dramatic favoritism towards specific ones. Not that how many times you have heard something, but the proportions of these phrases are they're not equally distributed. They're not randomly distributed. They're like there's a very high proportion, like the distribution is non-random. At least that's the impression I'm giving. Maybe I'm overanalyzing Japanese. Perhaps we could say whatever we want and then people won't yell at me for sounding unnatural. Because I can tell you, I don't know what unnatural English sounds like anymore, or unnatural typing things. And that's what Okami was kind of saying with Arabic, where apparently Arabic is so ingrained into the internet culture now, it's kind of hard to think of, like, when people type on Arabic, you know, on the internet, it might be just as fragmented these days, where it's acceptable, but it's also unpredictable, right? And then Manifest made a comment where even within the spoken thing, I'm trying to find it. I've seen people use a tool where you can put a sentence and see how common it is in books and tweets. It was a tool that someone showed me too, actually. I don't know what it's called. I should have bookmarked it. Someone did tell me of a tool that actually did this too. And they also ranked it. So when you like typed in a phrase, they gave you like several other phrases that look like that phrase or can produce a similar meaning as that phrase, and they ordered it by frequency, like how, like where you would see it. But was it an AI tool by any chance, Lotus? And a tool that was powered by bootstrapping using AI? I forgot what it's called. Someone did show me something similar. And the neatest thing about it was I tried to type in a message, right? Like I want to express this. It's not AI. Interesting. What I mean, I'm not saying the thing is AI. I'm saying the way they calculate the statistics and pull the. It just counted yeah, but I don't think it just counted total numbers, right? It was synthesized by AI. Or what I'm saying is the data collection was AI powered, not the actual feedback. Or is it just like somehow they data mined total numbers or something? I don't understand how this site works then. Okay. So you're saying like a bunch of linguistic people have a bunch of static sampling somewhere, like based on like statistics or something. Like they sampled a random representative group and calculated the frequency or something like that. Anyways, I'll let you try to find it because I would love to have something like that. It would be interesting. I like it. All right, another side digression. All of this is just pure conjecture, honestly. I don't know where psychology starts and where linguistic ends. Well, you know, like where psychology starts, where linguistic starts, where sociology starts. I just think it's really interesting that a language can possibly be predictable based on how socially, culturally monogamous it is, or not monogamous, homogeneous it is. This one gives individual words. Oh yeah, individual words are kind of okay. Yeah, I've seen something like this. Not quite what I had in mind. But oh, they use Netflix data mine and then okay. Slice of life anime. Okay. Yeah, not good enough. That's why I was talking about AI powered thing, because you can definitely calculate word frequency, but interpreting the frequency of contextual relationships between the words in a sentence format or in a paragraph would require something a little bit more like a language model or something to determine it. Like, how often is wataru associated with nihongo in the context of saying you know how to speak something, or are you capable of doing so, right? And that would require something a little bit more complex, and I would love to have a tool that is substantially like that. It would be really fun to mess around, right? I could type in lots of phrases that I think of, and then I could find out if it's like, oh yeah, this is very common, or this is high frequency, and I'm like, oh okay, that's kind of neat. I'm not going to like make all my phrases high frequency. It's a great way to test how weird or not how weird you are, or like not common or how uncommon you are. And I would love to do it for English, by the way. I would love to do it for English as well. Like, for example, how often do people use perhaps before a sentence, in the middle of a sentence, or after a sentence when expressing the likelihood of something happening? That would be really fun to find out. Or how often people use all or none when someone says some. There's so many questions I have if someone have a model like that. Like, how some thread on Reddit had a good idea. Ooh, let me see. We're just nerding out to language learning at this point. Wait. Google the phrase in quote and see what comes up. I see. And how many results come up? Oh, you know what? That is interesting. I like that. I'm gonna have to think about that approach. Interesting. The first result in Italki literally says Nihongo koto dekimasu sounds incorrect because there's no particle. Wait, what is this? Sorry. For this one, it's a lot of learning resource, so maybe it's a bit more unnatural. Oh, yeah. All right, I'll have to think about that. I'll have to think about that. That's a good point. That's a good point. It's easily accessible, and we can totally use it. Do you think about these things all the time, Lotus? Because I do. When obviously you have your job and stuff, but since I spend most of my time thinking about language learning, I basically think about this stuff all the time at the moment. Looks like people use okay. Shaberu. Oh yeah, the link because of Japanese. Japanese, like all the Japanese are represented in that you know the percentage mark with the locator, the character, so they have to indicate like every single one of the characters. Classic Japanese link when you're using like hiragana or kanji or any type of like non-Roman character. You have all the percentages and the identifiers for every character in the link. Whenever you have to like link a music video, right, like a YouTube music video, and it's in Japanese, it's like it's titled in Japanese, you just have a bunch of rows of numbers and I guess the cell designator with the percent symbol to indicate what position it, all I can imagine is there's somewhere in Google, somewhere on the internet, there's an array, right? An array of arrays, like a matrices with all the characters, and then that's how they form all the links. They just pull all the characters from the matrices, right, and then stick them into the end of the link, instead of like adding an extra step where they converted it. Yeah, that's what Unicode is. Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm just describing it, okay? That's what we do here. You can't just say Unicode and then people will be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Heckin' Lotus, stop being Japanese for a moment. I just kidding. That's kind of what I'm illustrating, right? Oh yeah, that's oh, you mean to say you mean to say itadakimasu? And I was like, what do you mean? I just want to say let's eat. You know exactly what I mean. Like you could say you can get on, you know, you can sit at the table and say tabemashou. And then people will be like, what do you mean? Like why are you saying it that way? What do you think, Lotus? Would you go on a table, like be around Japanese people and just sit there with a straight face and say tabemashou? I'm just saying. I'm illustrating. I'm like trying to find very, very obvious things. You know? This is such a... I'm having a fun time not learning Japanese.
プリン
Oops.
プリン
And also clean.
幸せ幸
Stop!
せ掃除もできます
Like, here's the thing, right? What is the essence of this phrase? Because in English, you would start with he, okay? So he can... I think I'm becoming more Japanese. Like, what I mean is I'm starting to embrace the Japanese sentence structure a lot more. I'm like, if you start with solji, I'm like, yo, okay. So he's got to be, you know, can he do it? Are we going to clean? Are we like, there are lots of, you know, there's still a lot of possibilities. But when you start with he can, do you have more possibilities? I'm starting to sound really biased. I'm not gonna... Let's stop this before I lose my American English card, right? I was just thinking it can also clean. What... I have a question for you. What do you think this actually means in Japanese? Like when someone says Solji mo dekimasu, right? Oh, Maku, do you want an educational thing that's a bit of a spoiler about dekimasu? Maybe you already know. Oh, sure. We can find out. There's only one way to find out if I already knew. There's a chance you might have already told me. I'm just saying. This isn't the first time dekimasu came up. Okay. Laundry, sentaku.
洗濯もできますよ。
Okay. It's a conjugation of suru and shimasu. Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's you, but someone else have told me. Yeah. Yep. Actually, I also this conjugation happens also. I don't know who. It's probably not you, but we're just gonna ascribe it to you. This conjugation also happens with e. And what I mean is, it's not the same thing per se. It's not the same thing per se. But there's also the thing where, like, if it's iku. Is it iku? Not iku. Just ima. What's imas? Iru? They drop the e to be fast. Dude, that stuff throws me for a loop. Because when you drop the e, and if it's a mas, if it's in a mas form, it just becomes mas, right? So then you might lose this information. So like, for example, we can go back to wakari, waka, no. Yeah. Waka, yeah, wakatemasu. And then they drop the e. Wait, did you just type that? Oh, you're saying like, yeah, wakatemasu. Yeah. That came up already too. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm fine. Because you know, like, sorry, and I wasn't, and I misspoke. I'm not talking about, sorry, I misspoke. I'm not talking about conjugations. I'm talking about contractions. Sorry, that's a misspoke. I'm talking about contractions now. where like the word gets slapped together, but then you get confused, because I get confused still because I don't know Japanese well enough that something is lost here, right? This is this E is conjugation useful, right? The conjugation is useful. The thing is, when I hear something, I often like when people are speaking, you have to remember like, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so they're not like conjugating it's not conjugating that, if you know what I mean. It's not the conjugation of this. It's like there's a E there, but the E has disappeared. Yeah, exactly. And I feel, to me, when I've seen this before, and I think it's humorous, it's super humorous, when Japanese people or other people who learn English, right, who are learning English, they keep trashing or complaining. It's usually English speakers, honestly. It's really not other people. It's more like people seeing this and then trashing on English, because they do the same thing where the English becomes unhinged, right? Imagine explaining wanna, right? Wanna, but wanna is a thing. Do you want to go to the store, right? Do you want to go to the store, right? And I'm thinking this, I'm like, well, wanna is not a conjugation. Like, this is not a conjugation of want to, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not a conjugation of want to. It's a contraction, or it's not even a contraction, but it's like it's combining two things into one thing. And that's kind of how I feel about this. I'm like, come on. And I don't mean it as a I don't mean it as an inconvenience. I think it's funny how languages try to be different from each other, but at the same time, human nature, human condition brings languages, idiosyncrasies together. Like when today we just spent like 40 minutes talking about Arabic's tendency for storytelling, using so then it translates to storytelling in English. And then here I am learning Japanese, but we're using English as an analogy and as a way of transitioning into Japanese. However, because of that, we are imparting some Englishisms into Japanese. So it's very much similar to the way, like, oh, how do we structure our communication style? It's like, well, you can either try to embrace the Japanese communication style, or you use your communication style. And like yesterday we said, how do you express yourself, right? How do you express yourself with a different language? Well, you can try to express yourself the way you want, or you can express yourself in the manner of your target language and develop a new identity, like a new identity. What I mean by that is you're expressing yourself, the Japanese side of you. So like whatever Japanese person you like, pseudo Japanese persona you have, you're using the target mannerisms, and then you're leaning and developing your own normacy in the target language. You could do that. When people say, oh, as long as you can express yourself, it's like, well, what if I just wanted to sound like this, but in Japanese? Do you actually achieve that? I don't know. I really don't know. I would love to sit down and as someone who has anyone been able to do that? Like, how can you be not what you are? So for me, when I see like our discussion about dekimasu, right? Dekimasu, and watarimasu, I am choosing to use watarimasu because I somehow focus and been exposed to watarimasu. I have not been exposed to, what was the one that you showed me? Shaberu? So I wouldn't say, in my experience in my life now, I wouldn't say Nihongo ga shaberu? Is that how that goes? Or shabarimashita? Shabarimasu, sorry. Shabarimasu. So I wouldn't go and say that. But the thing is, there are going to be people that speak Japanese and come up to you and say, oh, you shouldn't say it that way. You should say it this way. Oh, Shabarimatsu. Oh, Matsu. Oh, just mas. Okay. Shabarimasu. Okay. Shaberimasu. Sorry, I keep saying ba. Shaberimasu. Shaberimasu. Kind of sounds weird too. So, literally, I'm gonna tell you now. Why is this important? Well, I'm digressing, Lotus. Someone commented on me yesterday or 2 days ago. I also think it sounds weird, so hard to say. Yeah, like I'm gonna, like, for example, I'm gonna call something kirei, right? Like something kirei, as opposed to usukushi, like totemo kirei, as opposed to usukushi. Like specifically totemo kirei, because usukushi right now is something that not very approachable for me at the moment. And then it gets much worse when I have to say it in the past tense. Like, oh, what was the movie like? Well, you could, or like, what was the dress like? And you could say it was beautiful, or you could say it was very pretty. So you could say totemo, like, kirei kata, right? Kirei kata instead of usukushi kata. Usukushi kata, right? Like, I'm like, okay, that kind of thing. And is that part of your own expression or not? I don't know. I think usukushi, usukushi. That's the best I got. I really actually can't say it that, like, I can't say it the way I hear it at the moment. So I'm like working on it. Anything with like utsu. What's another utsu? Or utsu followed by ku. So a tsu after a ku, right? It's actually all the cutoffs put together. So she, like anything with a she, is kind of like very fast. Ku, it's fast. And su, like if there's a string of oo's, it's kind of, when there's a string of oo's, I'm like, still working on it. So it can be muzukashi is kind of close, actually. Muzukashi. When you say it's kind of difficult, muzukashi. Because it's mu and zu. It's two oo's together. But anyways, my thought was, I think I will still get pinged. Oh, the story. someone said, don't forget that ikaketsu, right? Ikaketsu. And then I looked at the video because I knew where I said ikaketsu. Ikaketsu. So if my E gets trailed, it will make it sound like I have not put a tsu in ikaketsu. But the thing is, if you already know, like this is where I feel Japanese has some resiliency. I didn't say ichikatsu, right? I didn't say ichikatsu. And if you know what E next to a counter, especially ka, is that the two reads are I, and that's it. But if E, like if ichi is in front of other things, it's either I, ka, or something like that. I, pause, right? Or ichi. So this person made a comment like, oh yeah, it's pronounced ikaketsu. I'm like, yes, I know it's pronounced ikaketsu. Now the question is, when I speak, did I rush it and say ikaketsu? No, I didn't. I actually literally said ikaketsu. But ikaketsu is like ishoni, right? Kakkoi, right? You can be incredibly deliberate with those things, but it comes back down to the whole speed thing. Where, like, when you have certain speeds, do you say, do you want me to say takusan, right? Takusan, or taku-san, like takusan. Like, am I saying taksan or am I saying takusan? You pronounced it in, oh, here we go. Where is this? Wait. What are you saying? What do you mean you pronounced it in Discord for me? Oh. Hold up. Wait. Oh, itsukushi. Oh no. Wait, itsukushi. Oh my. Wait. Itsukushi. Oh, interesting. Wait. Is it really that? Wait. Itsukushi. Which one is itsukushi? Wait. Where are we going with itsukushi? Wait, is it really pronounced itsukushi? Which? Wait, that is itsukushi. Wait. Let me hear that again. Oh no, utsukushi. Okay, yeah, utsukushi. Yeah. I know. I know it's utsukushi. The problem is I need to hear it first. Lotus. No. The problem is I need to hear it first. Like, I can imitate the sound. Yeah, utsukushi. Yeah, no. I know, but I need to hear it first. Yeah, it kind of sucks. Yeah, utsukushi. But what about? Oh, I need. What about utsukushi? Utsukushi. So this happened, right? Utsukushi, like utsukushi nakatta, right? Utsukushi, I pause here as well. I pause here because nakatta, right? Nakatta. I can remember that, like, I don't know what you call it. Let's say I can remember that pitch accent. Nakatta. right? Nakatta. So I always go utsukushi nakatta. Utsukushi nakatta as opposed to utsukushi nakatta. like running it together. I don't know, do you pause when you conjugate these things? Like really slightly, what I mean. In Duolingo, the synthetic voices don't pause there. So I'm like, it's kind of like also when you do kata. So I would say utsukushi kata, right? Utsukushi kata. Utsukushi kata? I'm done. We're done.
サッカーができま
It's
す。
fine. By the way, thanks for the voice sample. You have a very sultry voice sample. Somehow, my I always thought you sounded like SpongeBob SquarePants. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Oh, you managed to pronounce it. Okay.
美しくなかった。美しくなかった。
Oh my gosh. Utsukushiku nakata. Okay. Utsukushu nakata. Definitely difficult for... Oh, is that what it's... Is that it? Yeah. Utsukushiku nakata. Utsukushiku nakata. That's what I heard from the voice sample. Utsukushiku nakata. I like how you... it's even. So the voice, when you were pronouncing it, is very even. So it allows me to not panic or rush. It's kind of like ikagetsu. For the longest time, I would say something like isho, right? Isho, ishoni, right? Ishoni. I have a habit of making the e trail too hard into the, and it sounds like I'm saying isho, right? But it's isho, right? Ishoni. The problem is if the mic, if your e is really powerful, it can carry in sound into the show. So even when I'm listening, I'm like kind of missing this every once in a while. So the person that made a comment when I wrote this, right? Ikagetsu, right? I didn't say ikagetsu. Ikagetsu is very obvious that there's no tsu. But even if I say i, and then it comes very close, some body will have some degree of, oh wait, you didn't add enough pause, or you didn't have enough pause, right? And that is why I'm so kind of into this, talking about words that I still have difficulty, right? Ikagetsu, right? Ikagetsu, like. And oftentimes, I think the pitch accent, I throw off the pitch accent like super hard. Like kakoi, right? Kakoi. Like this. It's a lot easier if I heard it first. So if someone said kakoi, right? Kakoi, first, you can say it back. But when I have to read it first, I'm like, okay, let's pause. Let's make sure. Kakoi, instead of kakoi. To me, I would say that is the same for someone who immediately when they hear someone say 1ヶ月 they might be thinking, wait, oh yeah, don't forget, oh, you have to go to a meeting, oh man, all right, good luck with your meeting. We have to talk about sus sometimes. I want to see your best of list, your top 10 list. Good luck, Lotus. Yeah, I want to hear your top 10 list for like sus. Ishoni is definitely on my list. Ishoni. Okay.
サッカーができます。
Anyways, thanks for entertaining and having a conversation. Best of luck to you as well.
サッカーができます。
サッカー
ができます。
サッカ
サッカーができます。
新しいパートナーはスポーツが大好きです。スポーツ用品をたくさん持っています。よくテレビでスポーツの試合を見ます。
試合を what? 試合 Oh, game 試合を見ます。Okay. 新しいパートナーはスポーツが大好きです。スポーツ要因
新しいパートナーはスポーツが大好きです。スポーツ用品をたくさん持っています。よくテレビでスポーツの試合を見ます。
Okay, スポーツ用品をたくさん持っています。よくテレビでスポーツの試合を見ます。Anyways, we already know what it means, but okay. My new partner loves sports, right? Let's see. He has a lot of sporting equipment. I guess he often watches sports games on TV. Okay, sure.
花さんはいいスポーツ用品を使います。花
Okay, 花さんは
スポーツ用品
を使います。
使います。いい。
That's probably good.
花さんはいいスポーツ用品を使います。
花さんはいいスポーツ用品を使います。Okay.
彼氏は卓球が得意です。高校生の時、卓球を毎日しました。彼氏は今、大学の2年生です。大学期から一緒に卓球サークルに入ります。
Interesting. Oh yeah, see, this is what I mean. If you heard Cole say, if you managed to pick up Cole say, wait, hold up. Actually, take that back. Let's take that back. I need to contextualize this. This was like...
彼氏は卓球が得意です。高校生の時、卓球を毎日しました。彼氏は今、大学の2年生です。大学期から一緒に卓球サークルに入ります。
Yeah, they're talking about the past. Oh, thanks. Hey, MX-san? Nay-san, thank you. Sorry. Thank you. 彼氏はblah blah. 彼氏は卓球. Oops. 彼氏は卓球が得意。 得意です。
くい、
彼氏は卓球が得意です。高校生の時、卓球を毎日しました。彼氏は今、大学の2年生です。大学期から一緒に卓球サークルに入ります。
Okay. Fair enough. Thanks. Are you going by Mason, or are you also interested in Japanese? And I immediately thought M-san, MX-san, you know? Like, you know what I mean by, this? Like how, Japanese texts, a lot of Japanese texts use this as like kind of like a linker. That's immediately what I thought. Kind of like a spy family, right? M-san. I think that would be really cute. That'd be some meta level of naming. 綺麗は卓球が得意です。高校生の時、卓球を毎日しました。彼氏は今、彼氏は今、I missed the 今。彼氏は今、大学生の2年生です。大学期から一緒に卓球サークルに入ります。Okay. I missed 今. I didn't hear the 今. Didn't hear サークル. Okay. So what are the new things? 高校生 is a good. Toki, let's see, 卓球 Tokui is the vocab. And that's about it. Everything else is repeat.
ケンさんは週末によくゴルフをします。
Gorufu, right? Gorufu. Ken-san. Where are you? Ken-san?
ケンさん
Ken-san は趣味 No, 趣味。
ケンさんは週末によくゴルフをします。
週末にゴルフ
をします。よくケンさんは週末によくゴルフをします。
Just kidding. ケンさんは週末によくゴルフをします。
ケンさんは週末によくゴルフをします。
スポーツ用品スポーツ用品。
彼氏はゴルフもしますか？彼氏はゴルフもしますか？ゴルフ
もしますか？ダニエル得意。Oh, how to say football? It's アメフト、right? アメフト。ダニエルはアメフトのHow do you 得意
アメフトダニエル
さんはアメフトが得意です。アメフトが得意です。彼氏は ねoh, サーフィン。サーフィンが得意です。
サーフ得意
得意。仕事の後、ダニエルさんは、毎日、卓球をします。仕事の後、ダニエルさんは毎日卓球をします。仕事の後、
ダニエルさんは毎日卓球をします。
田中さんはテニスが得意
テニ得意
得意です。テニスが得意です。彼氏はアメフトができます。OK。釣り、
スパイス
牧場
ゴルフ趣味
ゴルフ。ナオミさんはテニスができます。
花さんはよく同僚とゴルフをします。
花さんはよく同僚とゴルフをします。Company golf trip。よくゴルフをします。同僚と
パートナ
ーはコーチの卓球です。
コーチ
の
卓球です。
Oh, the other way around. Oh, I can see that. Actually, that's fine. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, the other way around. Yeah, I got it. You got me. 花さんは卓球がです。Whoops. ができます。Yes.
コーチパートナーは卓球コーチのです。
Okay.
辛いスペイン料理
来週の金曜日、彼女とコメディ映画を見に行きます。映画の後、カフェに行きます。彼女はコーヒーが大好きです。
Okay. On Friday, I guess they're technically describing a date. It could be a date. Kind of nice, right? So, 来週の金曜日、彼女とコメディ、gosh, that looks コメディ映画を見に行きます。映画の後、カフェに行きます。彼女はコーヒーが大好きだ。So, dinner and coffee? Not dinner and coffee. Movie and coffee. I mean, they could I see where they're going with it. So next Friday, I'm going to watch a comedy movie. I'm going to watch or going to see a comedy movie with my girlfriend. After the movie, we're going to go to a cafe. My girlfriend loves coffee. Sounds like a date. Movie and coffee.
ケンさんとヘルシーなスペイン料理を食べます。ケンさん。
Wait.
ケンさんとヘルシーなスペイン料理を食べます。ヘルシー、スペイン料理なを、
Okay.
食べます。
ヘルシー、adjective. ケンさんとヘルシーなスペイン料理を食べます。Okay.
ケンさんとヘルシーなスペイン料理を食べます。
I'm going to eat healthy
今週
Spanish.
末スペイン料理を食べに行きます。そのスペイン料理のレストランはとてもおしゃれです。デートの前に新しいドレスを買います。
Fancy. Yeah, a fancy restaurant. Exactly. A fancy restaurant. 今週末、スペイン料理を食べに行きます。そのスペイン料理のレストランはとてもおしゃれです。デートの前。That's a good one. デートの前に新しいドレスを買います。Buy a new dress for fancy, for very stylish dinner, Spanish food. So this weekend, we are going to eat Spanish food, right? Spanish food. The Spanish food is at the Spanish food is going to be at a very stylish restaurant. It's going to be at a very stylish restaurant. So before this date, I'm going to go buy a new dress.
池袋に美味しいケーキを食べに行きます。池袋に美味しいケーキを食べに行きます。美味しいケーキを食べに行きます。池袋に美味しいケーキを食べに行きます。
池袋に美味しいケーキを食べに行きます。Okay. 解散とスペイン料理を食べます。I was gonna say 食べに行きます。It says going to eat. Okay, sure. 彼女と東京タワーからのブラブラブラ景色
を見
に行きます。彼女と東京タワーからの景色を見に行きます。We're gonna go see the view from the Tokyo Tower, or I'm going to see the view from the view at Tokyo Tower with my girlfriend. Or from yeah, sure, kata from with it, yeah, fair enough. So you can actually do that. So kata, and then you add a no. you can kara no. I feel like I haven't seen that too often. Kara, and then you use a no particle to modify where it's from. Like what view is interesting. 次デート。デートは what's it? 20日です。次のデートは20日です。
次のデートは20日です。
20日です。明日は No 明日花さんと新宿にアクション映画を見に行く。I'm gonna go watch I'm gonna go to Shinjuku to watch an action movie with Hana-san tomorrow. With Hana tomorrow.
2を
花火。浅草に花火を見に行きましょう。or 行きます。Sorry. Okay.
浅草に花火を見に行きます。
新宿に食べにラーメンを食べに行きます。次の oh no not 次来週の水曜日。
来週の水曜日。
5月20日。5月20日にケンさんとデートに行きます。
来週の水曜日。
次のデートは20日です。
Now we're doing the reverse, right? The reverse. Okay. 来週の金曜日デートに行きます。
来週の金曜日デートに行きます。
Oh, double knees. Don't forget the when. で、7月20日にデートに行きます。
デートに行きます。
Alright. One last lesson for the day. Hours. Spent an hour having some great discussions. Ah, come on.
パートナ
Okay, パートナーは卓球
のコーチです。
20日に花さんとデートに行きます。
I think the sentences are getting shorter. This unit was very conservative with the sentences. Not the prompts are good though. I like that the prompts are very frequent, a lot more frequent. 20 20日に花さんとデートに。20日、20日。デート場所。場所。学生。5月20日にケンさんとデートに行き。
来月水族館に魚を見に行きます。
水族館 I hear that.
来月水族館に魚を見に行きます。
水族館 Wait, how did Lotus say it again? 美しい。My god. 美しい。美しい。美しい。美しい。美しい。美しい。美しい。美しい。One day. 来月水族水族館に魚を見に行きます。見に行きます。美しい。あれ、美しい。美しなかった。美しなかった。なかった。なかった。Okay. I'm going to see fishies. No, we're going to the aquarium to see fishies. 来月。来週の土曜日。来週の土曜日にまた映画館に行きます。Okay. I'm gonna go to the movie theater again next week or next Saturday.
来週動物園に象を見に行きます。
Okay. 来週動物園に象を見に行きます。象。動物園。象を見に。来週。花さんに一日に4回メールします。
4回。
浅草に花火を見に行きます。
浅草に花火を見に行きます。浅草に花火を見に花火。アンドリューさんに
1日。
Don't do that. I'm pretty sure that's 1日に。1日に3回メールします。
3回。
Oh no. The curse of the 1日and 1日 persists. I'm going somewhere with my girlfriend next Saturday. どこか、どこかで彼氏との来週の土曜日に 彼氏とどこかで no, it's どこかで彼氏 I mean I don't think it matters. どこかで彼氏と Oh no, it does matter. Yes, it does matter. Just kidding.
来週
来週の土曜日彼氏とno, 彼女と
どこかに行きますに
I missed the particle. 来週の土曜日に彼女とどこかに行きます。Okay. 来週の日曜日にまたケンさんと会います。
来週
の日曜日にまた来週の日曜日にまたケンさんに会います。仕事の後たくさんメールします。Yes. I think 仕事の後
たくさんメールします。
We have nowhere to boost for 15 minutes. So I'm just going to take a 15-minute break. No, not really. All right. That's a wrap for Japanese. We had such a good discussion today. I'm actually going to pay attention next time to how often do I try to predict what the person's going to say next. I actually think maybe I'm a little biased. So, what was our discussion today? This is our end of our day 2 of Unit 33 of our Japanese session. So, I'm actually I haven't talked about this a lot, where when people are talking to each other, I tend to form ideas in advance, right? So when you're talking about English, I wonder how much part of English, in my opinion, in terms of its flexibility and where ideas can go, that it makes it feel like I really like Japanese and Chinese quite a lot. And Okami brought up Arabic. I know nothing about Arabic, but when they talked about like storytelling and leading the story, so oftentimes when I'm commentating on English or on a video game or something, I lead the conversation. So I don't usually talk to people in a manner anymore where we're having like back and forth conversations, in the sense of one person isn't creating a storytelling thing. So usually the people that I'm talking to tend to be responding and I'm doing the commentating. So oftentimes when one is very well spoken in English, at least this is my anecdotal experience, when one speaks in like a storytelling format or a leading format, they usually are characterized by transitional phrases, pausing, transition, cause effect. When you say something, you set up for the next thing. So oftentimes when the perception of how well spoken someone can be can also be inherited from how they develop their ideas as they're talking, right? You get comments like, oh, you're very easy to follow, right? Or when you explain things, it is very clear. And that, to me, is something that I would find that English is far more of a rarity Now, what I'm saying by that is rarity in the sense of the proportion of necessity to be able to do this in English. It's not really reinforced anywhere. Like, for example, when you're explaining something or attempt to explain something in Japanese, or when you attempt to explain something in another language, it might be because I'm learning the language that I might be biased and focus on how strict the language is. And I kind of like it. I really do like it. So because, in my opinion, my limited knowledge of Japanese, my interaction with Japanese, like watching anime or watching a book or a podcast, they are very, very pattern oriented. And what I mean by that is it's nice. It's really nice for learning. However, I have to keep in mind that all the material that I consume outside like anime and stuff, they might be deliberately very storytelling or very predictable, and it flows really well, largely due to its comprehensibility. Right? While keeping that in mind, I still feel that it is safe to say, due to the nature of English having lots of isolated groups, or not necessarily isolated, but differing groups in the concentrations high enough, that the language itself, while it may not be the most mechanically flexible, like for example, if you break down it into a sentence form and stuff, it might not be the most mechanically flexible, but its meaning, the way you communicate and have to build a story and a narrative, I actually think speaking English at a high level, and I don't mean that as in like a good or bad thing, we're talking about a level in which you are able to craft sentences and an idea where universally or consistently it is easy to follow, where it does not violate lots of presumptions and boldly make claims where it is unintentional, right? So things like that, in my opinion, having to juggle that in English kinda makes things like Japanese really nice. I actually feel like a weight. There is some weight lifted off the shoulder. Obviously, it's far more nuanced than that. Lotus and I had a conversation, and it's obviously more nuanced than that, where there are many ways to say certain things, and then there's varying frequencies of the way you say those things. And it can be a product of learning a language. However, to this day, I would not rest on my laurels to this day, and that might be something personal to me, but even if someone considers me a native English speaker, the language, the way English works, it's a natural language, just like Japanese, right? You cannot rest on the laurels of how quickly a language changes in the sense of how it's built and its flexibility and its meaning, especially with a language that is almost used by coincidence universally, right? Like it could have been any language, like, but English, by the historical ways, it is a language that is common bridger, right? It's the language that will mutate dynamics. So in that sense, I find it very conservative enough to say that English, because of the nature of its users, and is often the most flexible. And the most flexible, in my opinion, is not incredibly desirable in the sense of being pragmatic. As in, if you wanted to learn something, you don't often get clarity, largely because, like most things that are flexible, it becomes incredibly, even more so, relatively speaking, dependent on your source, right? Even Lotus and I, when I'm talking about Japanese, we still have variances of flexibility in Japanese. Like, I like Nihongo ga watarimasu, right? but apparently, according to frequency, Nihongo ga shaberimasu is probably the most common, and I haven't heard that much. I honestly heard watarimasu more, and it kind of rolls off the tongue more. So there is still that flexibility in Japanese, but we're not talking about an astronomical cultural diversity here. We're talking about a group of, we're talking about Japanese by the Japanese people a lot of times, right? And then we're focused on Japanese media and stuff. Well, in English, the thing is, it's both beautiful and complex at the same time. Speaking to like Okami, who's someone who principally speak in Arabic, the way they type their comments is different from the way, say, a third-gen American would type, and that's beautiful. The reason that started that whole like 2 hours of chatting and digression is the idea that it's very identifiable, or identifiable in the sense that it is different varyingly, like the word choices, the leading and stuff. It's not to say that it is unique. The idea is the tendency for things to happen. And I actually think not only is it the tendency for story building and proper grammar and structure, is oftentimes the people who are more attentive to forming effective sentence structures and natural like building and stuff that's reflective of the majority, or like the rules, is usually the language learner, right? The language learner. So the question is, if I go and visit Japan like right now, how much of all this rigidity is retained? I would argue it would be a significant amount of this rigidity would not exist, or like would exist at a varying degree that is much lower than the impression I'm getting. So when people go around, like other language learners, it's really often other language learners, they would go around and say things like, oh, this is the way you say that, this is the way you say that. And ultimately the reality is, if a language becomes influence, it becomes more flexible. So to me, as someone who speaks English, right, as a little take-home message, in my opinion, to myself, I suppose, as someone who speaks English, I am the one that is flexible. The person that I'm speaking to is that's learning the language may not be so flexible. And I feel that it's not that who's to blame, who should. I prefer that I keep a flexible mind, because nuance and like degrees of understanding comes from experience, and that's a beauty of a natural language. But at the same time, one must not, I don't think I want to give the impression to another person unintentionally that there are rules and stuff when it is quite fluid, especially English. Now, I still don't know about Japanese. I don't know about Arabic. I know a little bit more about Japanese than I know about Arabic at this point. At the same time, kind of cool. I think there is less flexibility in Japanese, mainly because I'm learning it right now, so I don't actually know how flexible Japanese can become. I may never know, because my parental common language is English. I think Okami brought up an interesting point where if they continue to persist in an environment where you predominantly only speak one language as opposed to another language, the other language may become less flexible or less like practice. And that's probably a message I want to mention to myself again. I really don't often understand that point of view where if you have a language and you've practiced it to the point it's part of your daily life, how one constitutively think in that one language. I know that sounds odd. I mean, I'm probably the oddball one now. I don't actually know. Just because I'm speaking English doesn't mean I'm not thinking about Japanese right now. At least that's my social norm. I can definitely tell what kind of person would want to do that. So if you're speaking Japanese, you're only thinking Japanese. That's fine. If you're speaking in English, you're only thinking English. That's fair enough. When I'm language learning, it's rare that I'm ever thinking about two. And then to make it normal, I try not to think of everything in one language. It might slow me down. It might take me longer to think about things. But I think it's far more comforting to know that when I learn a language, I keep it with me. I don't forget to use, if you know what I mean. Like, I try not to forget. Okami expressed that some concern that when they returned back to an Arabic speaking place, their English got weaker. But then they practice English to keep it with them. Like, well, yeah. You can, one can also keep the languages with you. So maybe that's just the thing, right? Fujonese is not something I can continue to teach myself. It's largely because I still use it every day. I don't learn any new Fujonese stuff unless I talk to my parents, because there's no other source of Fujonese. So it's interesting when we had the conversation about mother language, right? My mother language is Fujonese. There might be a slight chance that my parents might have uttered an English word when I was like 5. But it's so unlikely. The first words that I learned were either in Mandarin or Fujonese. And even without education in both those languages, I kept those languages with me. And when I went off to college and graduate school, I spent 99% of my life away from my only source of Fujonese. And to this day, my Fujonese neither declined nor improved. What is Fujonese, Getter? It is a dialect of Mandarin, which we're about to go and learn some Mandarin now, ahead of this. It's a dialect, and in China, these dialects are largely unintelligible to each other. So when you say things like ni hao, right? Ni hao, how are you? Or hello, or how are you? Ni hao is Fujonese. And if you say ni hao, most people in speaking Mandarin wouldn't know what you said. So that's kind of the thing. I think I want to say it is still possible to retain languages without it's a myth. I feel like this is a myth, where someone thinks that learning another language or using another language means that your other languages decline. Like they have to decline, as in you can't maintain a language while learning another language or what have you. I think the most common occurrence is one decides to preferentially not use another language anymore. So I don't know how true this is. I feel like it's probably a contentious, is it true or is it not? I don't think my Fujonese has declined at all. However, it's so difficult to measure since Fujianese is not taught. Once a Chinese called you a okay guy. I don't know what it means though. Okay guy. I'm glad I pronounced okay like in Japanese. But yeah. Nice try. Nice try, Getter. Nice try. Well, I hope that person wasn't mad at you because that's exactly what that would mean. Nice try what? If you don't know what I mean, then all right. I'll take it. I mean, statistically, you could have said any other phrase that was probably like fairly reasonable. But no, you decided to go with I like China. And then you picked a situation where you quoted something that sounds suspiciously like something else with exact precision. So, that's all. That's as much as I'm going to say. But nice try. Okay, so that was a good wrap up for Japanese Duolingo. And I'm going to go take a break. So to all those Japanese people, learners out there, interested in Japanese, keep on learning. Good luck with everything. You don't know what it means and you might look it up later. Well, you clearly probably have looked it up late already because you remember a story about it. So I'm respectfully, it's the coincidences is too high. So if you're really being genuine, then I'm sorry, but that's so convenient. It's kind of like all my encounters with like people who talk about Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, and Russian, where they quote something in English that is almost uncannily and statistically something that you shouldn't say in that target language. So you're gonna have to bear with me and hear me out here. It's incredibly suspicious how that turned out. And I've already been in this situation like 6 or 7 times in 7 languages. In this case, though, I actually know the target language. So by chance. And that is not something that you say. Especially if you're saying some Chinese person just randomly said it to you. That sounds like a situation where you probably offended someone, incredibly offended them, because that word don't usually come out very often. Okay, anyways, all right, so mata ne, mata shita. If you're gonna watch this later, arigatou gozaimasu. And I'm gonna get up, stretch, and we're gonna go and do Chinese after this. All right, I'll be back in a bit. Take care.